Hello, my name is Matthias Tarasiewicz. I'm running the Riot Institute for Future Crypto Economics. We're existing since 2012. It's an institute that works in the cryptocurrency space. Originally, we started with Bitcoin by producing also the world's first Bitcoin-related art piece. This was in 2010 and 2011, and this started actually more our formal research part, which then basically became the Institute for Future Crypto Economics, which consists of basically the main tasks that we have, which are communication. So we're like communicating specific research trends, but also trying to make sure that the Ethereum community, but also the larger cryptocurrency research and development community has challenges to work on, has a specific kind of idea what to look for in the future, and in order also to imagine like future societies or like changes in society and react with it through code. So another part that we're doing is actually we have an academy which is called Riot Academy, which is now largely based on Solidity, Truffle framework testing, and like making actually sure that since there's a huge hype in all this kind of ICO craziness, that developers that are existing, that they don't, that there's not so much bad code produced. So we're trying to make sure, we have the specific security properties we have to look at. Also, like code is like executed on chain, so we have to make sure that there's a specific knowledge also, and also there are projects which are tackling this from an ethical perspective. So there's the Satoshi's Oath, for example, which is an ethical framework. Also friends of ours that we are talking to that are proposing an ethical framework for developers in order to develop on-chain applications, and what could be the ethical reach of this, what are the ethical dimensions of developing code which is like auto-executable.
Okay, so say I'm a developer, I'm not into Solidity that much, and I want to just learn Solidity in your academy. Like you have like some spaces in Vienna, or how does it look?
Yeah, so Riot has its main center is in Vienna, but we have also like kind of different spaces around the world. So it's in Zurich, we have a place. In Ireland, we are currently setting up a space, and it's like mostly Europe-based, but we are also traveling around conferences, making sure that we can extend our network. It's a network of approximately, it's over 25 people that are actively researching. With its main base in Vienna, it's a space that is approximately 300 square meters large, where we are hosting also other research projects, working with a kind of it's not a kind of a co-working space, you could not call it that, it's more like I would say an extension of it, which would be more related to a hackerspace, but not really, because we are trying to create education that is available also to people that wouldn't be able to afford it. So it's like a kind of a circulation between offering also company trainings and company workshops, but also trying to make education, especially blockchain education, like smart contracts education, available to the public.
Okay, so there's so much questions I'd like you to ask, but maybe I'll just pick one. So basically, like you're like from the 2011 in the crypto space and everything. So you've observed a lot of trends, like the things that are no longer here, and the things that didn't probably look they will go big, and they went. So what are the trends like? What do you think, like maybe the technical things that the Ethereum will go to? Or
I mean, we saw a lot of interesting talks at the ETHCC conference here in Paris, I think. It will be, of course, very important to see sharding implemented, and like also like interesting elements of how to extend Ethereum. Ethereum has to face a lot of problems currently. We have to also make sure that we can scale. I mean, it's not only an Ethereum problem, it's a problem we can see with all the chains. There's a lot of trends I see in general, obviously. So we have a big trend, I would say, in making sure that there's true privacy through anonymous coins that are fungible, like Monero, for example. I also saw really nice intersections here between the Ethereum and the Monero community here at the ETHCC, especially since there's a lot of topics that are like chain agnostic and that are problems. Like, for example, currently looking into really de-anonymizable or de-anonymizable chain transactions. So it's a question, and this is the big trend currently, or the big question that is in the research space, is it like transparency or privacy. So this is one of the big questions I see.
Yeah, I think it's also like connected probably to the regulations. Yeah, potentially.
Exactly.
So yeah, just.
But still, also like comparing this, like for example, with Monero and the enterprise alliance of Ethereum, you can see actually similarities. So, for example, for NGOs, while it might be maybe it might not sound feasible that they will use Monero, it's actually interesting. It would be interesting for them because they can actually make sure who sees the transactions. So you can make specific view addresses, which is, for example, possible with the Ethereum enterprise chain. So there's a lot of intersections, I would say. So I don't think that Ethereum will solve all these problems. I think there will be a lot of coins which are relevant, or a lot of projects which will be relevant in the future. First and foremost, I think one of the biggest trends is actually cash, or actually digital payments, which is actually non-solved because Bitcoin is not a payment. It doesn't work for micropayments. It's not cash. Bitcoin Cash is also not cash. So we need to actually look into what could be the next cash replacement. We saw Plasma, or Plasma Cash, which is a kind of a funny take on the cash question, but in my opinion, we will see other currencies and other projects actually taking the cash aspect, which is like maybe Litecoin, maybe Monero, but most definitely not Ether, which is already criticized as being not really meant to be a payment token.
Yeah. Basically, we can see a lot of decentralized application,
yes.
mostly on the Ethereum. So, why did you got into the crypto space by that time, like 2011?
Yeah. So my background is actually design and design research, and I'm also a developer. So I was actually interested at the specific moment we were working on a project that was called Bitcoin Cloud. So the idea was like, how can you basically create an art piece that creates another value proposition? And in this specific case, we created an art piece which was actually also the first Bitcoin-related art piece, which was installed in different museums, and we were looking into. It was only mining Bitcoin basically when a viewer or when the audience was actually looking at it.
Okay.
So if nobody watched it, it wouldn't create any Bitcoin. If you would watch it, it would start mining. So they're like mining rigs. So the idea was, how can we create an art piece that extracts itself from the art market by creating a direct combination between attention and its value, and therefore we could use Bitcoin. And so that was our original idea how we came into cryptocurrencies. And by that we started to create a long research process, also with different researchers, artists, economists, to look into how is value produced? How is value produced within currencies? How is value produced in specific blockchain projects? I mean, we had only one blockchain project at this time, but this soon became what was known as altcoins. So we also wrote a chapter in the Handbook of Digital Currency, which was looking into altcoins as distributed community experiments. This was one of my thesis on hypothesis, where we also were looking into Ethereum. It was back in 2014. I think it also was the first time that Ethereum was actually mentioned academically. So we were looking into okay, Ethereum and Monero. We were saying like, okay, these might be like interesting technologies that will be relevant these days, and it proved to be right, which I'm actually quite proud of. Also like how the whole thing develops is like really crazy and really good. And I think
you were committed from the beginning, and now like went big. So it's like amazing. Most people they are just since 1 year or
totally.
2 probably like from the beginning. So it's like totally amazing. So you're from Vienna. Would you call Vienna a crypto city or?
I mean, I guess it's there's a lot of like old ties also to Vienna economics and the Austrian economics, of course. But I would say like Europe in general is like underestimated. I think like in Europe we have a lot of interesting countries and cities that are like really cryptocurrency cities, so to say. So we have like, but I would say Vienna doesn't count as one of them, but I would say we have like Amsterdam, Berlin, which are like super relevant. Of course, London. I mean, looking at statistics, like most of the ICOs are technically started in London, so it's like also interesting. But I guess like Europe is underestimated. So I guess like there's a lot of interesting developers and interesting developments coming from Europe, and I'm hoping to see not a huge crackdown on cryptocurrency in general, because we could actually lose a lot of traction to over-regulation. So I'm like hoping to see the kind of an equilibrium situation in order to foster also the development of more creative industries, more companies starting. And I think it's also important in order to find new use cases, such as time linking with other elements that are not possible to quantify right now, right? So, for example, to see, okay, what are use cases we could potentially extend the blockchain or the current blockchain research for? What
Yeah.
kind of even economic use cases are there? What kind of companies could be actually spawned from like new use cases we develop and we don't know yet? So I think there needs to be also a faster time or a faster way in order to get from experiments to kind of company or like value propositions within the culture. And I see this still a problem, a huge problem in Europe as compared to, let's say, the US, where where failure is seen as a large flaw. And if you would fail with a startup once, it's like very hard to start again. Yeah? So I think we have to learn also how to deal with failure, which is actually. Yeah, so it's like a development over time, also referring to your token.
Yeah.
So it's like interesting, and I think it's very relevant in order to also create a cultural shift, in order to understand like time is relevant. Time, some things develop over time,
Yeah, I mean the projects, the people, the skills. I mean, in the chronology we maintain this project created by Piper Merriam, the Ethereum Alarm Clock, and you mentioned time. So do you think that the scheduling transactions might be useful on the chain of the Ethereum?
So I would say it's super relevant, because also if we look at Unix and Linux, one of the most relevant tool on the system is cron, right? So it's a scheduler, it's a command scheduler that runs over time.
Yeah.
Basically, if we wouldn't have cron, we wouldn't have like log file archiving, we wouldn't have a lot of developments that we have
It's
in
kind
the
of
Unix
part
stuff.
of traditional
Yes.
applications. It's just there.
So it's one of the key tools, I would say, in order to get like specific automatically triggered events going. So I would say it's like super relevant, and I think actually there are a lot of use cases, a lot of potential developments, and we can think about them theoretically. We can create a kind of a sphere of thought where there's a lot of potential in order to research it more. Long story short, I think it's like super relevant, but I don't know where to start because there's like so many different applications coming to mind instantly. Like of course the most obvious being like recurring payments, or like making sure that a specific task or a specific contract has been fired at a specific time or a time frame. So we can also think of there's a lot of things we can think of, and I think it's super relevant to have like different ways of measuring and quantifying specifics that we need from a smart contract development perspective. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any message for the Ethereum community?
Yes, I hope to see actually also more people. We need more developers, actually, I think. So, especially in Vienna, we're trying with this academy to reach more people and to get more people into developing.
I think it's amazing.
So, I think it's important to get like more people into Solidity, but also in general to understand blockchains. I think it's like important that we also communicate a lot and like explain to people who are not into blockchain yet.
I mean, even the people
elements.
who are in the blockchain, it's not that easy to grasp all these ideas. Here around.
So we have to also, in my opinion, get away from this hype, because the problem is currently like everyone is like trying to make a quick buck. I think we have to calm down and like make it a more of a understandable, comprehensible situation. Yeah, focus more, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for an amazing talk.
Thank you as well. Yeah.